The Collective Rise, Redefining Success Through Community Ecosystems. Welcome to a conversation that will challenge everything you thought you knew about success, power, and progress. I'm LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, and today I'm sharing revolutionary insights from my transformative interview with Kenyetta Caldwell, a visionary leader who isn't just changing the entrepreneurial landscape, she's completely reimagining it. Kenyetta Caldwell isn't merely a business strategist or community organizer, she is an architect of possibility, a cartographer mapping new pathways to collective liberation. Her groundbreaking research and fearless advocacy have fundamentally altered how we understand the relationship between individual achievement and community advancement. In a world obsessed with solo success stories, Kenyetta dares to ask, what if our greatest power lies not in breaking through barriers alone, but in dismantling them together? When I first sat down with Kenyetta, I expected another inspiring story about overcoming obstacles and breaking glass ceilings. What I received instead was nothing short of revolutionary, a fundamental challenge to the very framework through which we understand achievement, especially for Black women in America. We've all absorbed the conventional wisdom, worked twice as hard, pushed through obstacles, climbed that ladder one painful rung at a time. But what if that entire paradigm is fundamentally flawed? What if the true path to transformation isn't about individual achievement at all, but something infinitely more powerful? This is the question that stopped me in my tracks during our conversation. Did you know that Black women are currently driving a historic surge in entrepreneurship across America? They account for an astonishing 89% of net new women owned firms launched daily. But here's a revolutionary insight Kenyetta shared. Their success isn't primarily about breaking barriers or overcoming adversity. It's about intentionally creating ecosystems that amplify collective advancement, not just individual wins. This shift from solo success to community infrastructure is quietly transforming the landscape for future generations of Black professionals and business owners. And it challenges everything we thought we knew about achievement. For decades, we've celebrated the exceptional individual, the first Black woman to break into this industry or that C suite. We've applauded the lone entrepreneur who defied the odds. And while those stories deserve recognition, they've inadvertently reinforced a dangerous myth. That exceptional individual effort is the primary solution to systemic problems. But what Kenyetta's research reveals is something far more powerful. The most sustainable progress doesn't come from producing more exceptional individuals who can overcome barriers. It comes from building networks and support systems that remove those barriers altogether. Let me take you to the Women's Business Enterprise National Council Conference in New Orleans last year. Black women business owners showcased unprecedented revenue growth, up by 32.7% since 2019. That's extraordinary in itself. But when Kenyetta investigated how this growth happened, she discovered something remarkable. These weren't isolated success stories. These entrepreneurs had systematically created support infrastructures benefiting wider communities. Many began with humble home based ventures during economic downturns, but scaled rapidly through ecosystem support, leveraging mentorship programs, strategic partnerships, and collective networks designed specifically for minority women entrepreneurs. The result? Firm formation accelerating at rates that outpaced male peers by over 94%. Major revenue milestones, national recognition as industry leaders. but most importantly, increase visibility on policy issues affecting minority businesses and broader access to capital resources for future generations. This is the first key insight from my conversation with Kenyetta. True progress comes when we build networks and support systems that create opportunities for others, not just ourselves. But there's more to this story, and it gets uncomfortable. A comprehensive study analyzed by Kenyetta revealed why fewer than 1 in 10 U.S. entrepreneurs are Black, and why gaps persist along every step from founding through exit. The numbers are sobering. Lower startup rates among Blacks, 22% less than whites, higher failure rates, 20% above white owned firms, and venture backed startups led by Blacks comprising only a tiny fraction, less than 3%, of total deals funded each year. Many founders cited lack of generational wealth and network access as initial hurdles. But here's where it gets interesting. Those who succeeded often did so via specialized mentorships or VC funds targeting diversity initiatives. And the data shows higher than average exit rates among female founded VC backed startups, 19.4%, demonstrating extraordinary potential when given equal opportunity. This leads us to the second key insight: resilience leads to reinvention. The remarkable growth in Black women owned businesses, revenues up by over 32% in recent years, is proof that resilience, adaptability, and community collaboration can turn challenges into competitive advantages. But let's be crystal clear about something. This isn't just another pull yourself up by your bootstraps narrative, because the third insight from Kenyetta's work is perhaps the most important. Despite significant strides, Black entrepreneurs still face higher funding denial rates and startup failure rates compared to their counterparts. Addressing these disparities requires more than grit. It demands systemic change at every stage of the entrepreneurial journey. This is where conventional thinking fails us so profoundly. We've been taught that exceptional effort is the answer to structural inequality. Work harder, be more resilient, overcome more obstacles. But what if that's fundamentally backward? What if the most revolutionary act isn't overcoming barriers, but removing them altogether so that ordinary effort can produce extraordinary results? Let me share another fascinating example from my conversation with Kenyetta. Recent reports highlight how digital tools have enabled a wave of successful startups led by women across tech, wellness, education, and social impact sectors, especially within communities historically excluded from traditional finance channels. Many began selling products and services online during pandemic shutdowns, pivoting quickly using global platforms instead of local storefronts. The result? Female led startups now outperform male led ones on return on investment metrics, thanks largely to diverse team dynamics fostered online. They're doubling the rate of growth versus male peers between 2019 and 2023, according to a Wells Fargo report. What's happening here isn't just individual success stories. It's a fundamental reimagining of what entrepreneurship looks like. By harnessing e commerce platforms and social media marketing, these entrepreneurs allowed rapid scaling without reliance on gatekeepers. They created alternative pathways to success that bypass traditional barriers. This is the counterintuitive truth at the heart of Kenyetta Caldwell's work. The most effective response to systemic inequality isn't just producing more exceptional individuals who can overcome barriers, it's building systems that make those barriers irrelevant. Think about what this means for a moment. We've been taught that success is primarily individual, that it's about your effort, your talent, your resilience. But what if success is actually collective? What if your achievements are inextricably linked to the strength of your community and the robustness of your network? This isn't just a nice theory, it's backed by hard data. When Black women entrepreneurs focus on building community infrastructure rather than just individual achievement, everyone rises, revenue grows, opportunities multiply, barriers fall. But here's where we need to be honest with ourselves. This approach requires something that runs counter to much of what we've been taught about success. It requires vulnerability. It requires asking for help. It requires admitting that we can't do it all alone. And for many high achieving Black women who've spent years in survival mode, who've led teams, raised families, held down households, carried communities, this can be the hardest shift of all. This is where the concept of the soft girl era becomes so powerful. Because embracing softness isn't about being weak, it's about being wise enough to recognize that sustainable success requires community. It requires support. It requires letting go of the cape and allowing yourself to be held by something larger than yourself. As Kenyetta shared with me, the most revolutionary act for a Black woman entrepreneur today isn't working twice as hard as everyone else. It's building a table where everyone can eat. So I ask you, yes, you, sitting here right now, what would it mean to redefine success not as how high you climb, but how many you lift as you rise? What would it mean to measure your impact not by individual achievements, but by the strength of the ecosystem you help create? What would it mean to see your vulnerability not as weakness, but as the foundation for authentic connection and collective power? This isn't just philosophical, it's deeply practical. Because the future belongs not to lone wolves, but to pack builders, not to barrier breakers, but to bridge makers, not to exceptional individuals who can overcome a broken system, but to visionary communities who can transform that system altogether. I challenge you today. Take one step toward building an ecosystem where others can thrive alongside you. Mentor someone without expecting return. Share an opportunity you could have kept for yourself. Invest in a community initiative that removes barriers for those coming behind you. Because in the end, the most powerful legacy we can create isn't just our own success story, it's a community ecosystem where success becomes not the exception, but the rule, where ordinary effort can produce extraordinary results, where we rise not by exceptional individual achievement, but by intentional collective advancement. This is the revolutionary insight at the heart of Kenyetta Caldwell's work, and it just might change everything we thought we knew about power, progress, and possibility. The question isn't whether you'll succeed. The question is, who will succeed because of you?